Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We have a very special morning here for you. Our guest today is my dear friend, Linda Long of Long Awaited Design, among other things, but that's your current gig right now.
That is my current gig, yes.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
No, we've been trying to do this for a few weeks and had a couple of stumbles, but we're here and we made it, and it's fantastic. Love having you in the chair with us.
I love being here.
I've been really waiting impatiently to talk to you about your story because you have had such an interesting journey, and I want to go back kind of to the beginning, not all the way back, but to when you were a mom. You had two boys, right?
No, boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl, and raising them yourself as a nurse. And you're from Toledo?
I am. I've been here 25 years.
What brought you to Pittsburgh?
Actually, my husband's job. He got a really good job opportunity here, and so we moved here and been here ever since.
One of the good guys too.
Yeah, he is a good guy. But yes, I went back to college, or I went to college. I never went when I was young, for a variety of reasons, but I did go to college after my kids got into grade school. So once my daughter, my youngest, was in first grade, I said, you know what, I'm going to school. So I always wanted to be a nurse. When I was a little girl, I was the little girl that there was all boys in my neighborhood.
Okay.
I was one of the only girls. There just weren't girls. They were all older than me. So I played with the boys all the time. And of course they wanted to play Army, and they wanted to play Cowboys and Indians. Well, I was always the nurse.
There you go.
I mean, talk about stereotypes, right?
Well, yeah, and little boys always need patched up. So that's
yeah. So when we'd be playing war, I'd be the one that would run out onto the battlefield and take care of them. So it just seemed like a natural transition. So I went to college, graduated, and got a job at the largest hospital in Toledo. It was a big hospital, like an 800-bed hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, big.
Okay.
And I worked there for quite some time, and it's kind of where I met Jim. He also worked at that hospital. We didn't work together.
Okay.
He was a manager, and I was just a floor nurse. But that's where we met, and then, like I said, he got a really good job offer here, and we moved here, and here we are. But I was a nurse for 28 years.
Okay.
And loved every minute of it. But I got to the point where the job I had, I was in Oncology Research, and I was getting people on clinical trials. Okay. And unfortunately, what that means is they've already failed all of the regular treatments, all the protocols and they had failed all those. And so this was kind of a last-ditch effort. And sometimes it worked, but more often it didn't, because it was just too far along by the time they got to me. And so unfortunately, most of them didn't make it. And after doing that for almost 10 years, I just couldn't do it anymore. I literally. That
had to be heart-wrenching for you, because you're a very person, and I would think, and we've talked about this, that you would get personally involved with your patients.
I did.
Because you care.
I did. I wasn't one of those people that is just all clinical. Mm-hmm. I got to know them. I knew their families. I knew their, what was going on in their kids' lives and their pets. And I mean, we became friends. Mm-hmm. And so when they didn't make it, Yeah, I took it personally. And
It's like losing a friend every time.
yeah, and I kept losing my friends over and over and over again.
Wow.
And I just finally got to the point where I said, I just can't do this anymore. I said, it's just sucking the life right out of me. I just can't do it anymore. And so but then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm 60 years old. I don't know anything else. I've been doing this for 28 years. I don't know anything else to do. And so actually I was talking to my brother, who he's older than I am, and kind of been my surrogate dad, because my father died when I was 19. So my brother, who's 6 years older than me, he walked me down the aisle when I got married, and so he was kind of my surrogate dad. Yeah. And so we were talking one day, and I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I can't, I just can't do this anymore. But I don't know. He goes, well, what do you like? And I'm like, my knee. And then he's like, well, what kind of stuff do you like? And I said, well, I don't know. I like architecture, and I like fashion and art. And I go, well, do that. And I go, do what? What do you mean, do that?
Yeah, just go do it.
He goes, well, can't you take those things and do something with it? And I'm like, I don't know. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, interior design, I always like decorating the house, and that includes art and architecture and all that kind of stuff. So I started looking into that, and I found an online program with the New York Institute of Art and Design. They have a really nice online program, and I researched it, and it had great reviews and everything. So I was still working, and then I was fitting in the classes when I could. I have to admit, I did it sometimes when I was supposed to be working. I admit it.
The statute of limitations is something.
Yeah.
You're okay.
So I finished school, and then I'm going, okay, now what am I going to do? And I'm like, clearly I did not think this through. And so again, I'm talking to my brother, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do now. I said, I'm looking, and there are jobs. I mean, you can go work at Ethan Allen or someplace and be their in-house designer. And I thought, you know what? I've done my share of weekends and holidays and evenings, and being a nurse, I can't tell you how many Christmases I had to work, and all that. So I thought, I don't want to do that anymore. And so my brother goes, well, why don't you just start your own business? Again, what is wrong with him? And
your brother's a minimalist. He just just go do it.
Yeah, just do it. Well,
what does he do? Can I ask?
Well, he's kind of semi-retired now. He's still doing consulting work, but he owned an advertising agency in Toledo for years.
Just go do it.
Yeah, just go do it. So he goes, oh, it's not that hard. What a lie. What a lie that was. I said, I'm like, okay, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I do tell that to people, and I'm like, I think starting a business was the hardest thing I ever did.
Hard. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have anybody, and I didn't know all the people that I know now.
Sure.
I didn't know any of those people. I didn't know you. Any of the people that I'm associated with now, I didn't know any of them. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how to run a business. So I'm literally Googling things on how do you start a business in Pennsylvania. Honest to God, that's the way I did it.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, I did it, but it wasn't easy, and I made a whole lot of mistakes.
That's probably the best thing that could have happened.
A lot of mistakes. Yeah. So anyway, I started my business, Long Awaited Design, and I've been doing that for 8 years. I tell people I was 65 years old when I started my business, and that's why I say it's never too late. You're never too old. And don't ever give up.
I love that. I love that. And that is so important for so many people to hear, especially young people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, your life isn't over when you turn 40 or
No,
50.
heck
It's
no.
actually just beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've accomplished probably more since I turned 60 than now, obviously, I raised two great kids and,
Which is an accomplishment. That's a major accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great kids and, have given me grandchildren. And
Okay, so you just decided at 60 to just flip your life upside down and try something different after doing
much.
one thing for, for most of your adult life. But then I think it was 2021, your life changed again, but not by your choice.
True. In 2021, and I went in for my yearly mammogram like I always did. Not thinking a thing of it. Went every year. No big deal. Get a call the next day saying, "Doctor saw something. He wants you to come back, and he wants to take a different look and maybe do an ultrasound." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." That's actually happened before, so I didn't really think anything of it.
Okay.
So I went back. They did the ultrasound. They did the other views. He comes in the room, and he pulls up the screen, and he points up to. He goes, "You see that spot right there?" I go, "Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to miss." I mean, it was big.
Really?
It was almost an inch in diameter.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And I got a mammogram every year. So it's not like it had been 5 years since I had a mammogram.
Right.
And so he goes, "I think we need to biopsy that." And it was like, okay. I still wasn't that concerned. For whatever reason, I kept thinking, "Oh, it's going to be nothing."
Well, you're a very positive person by
Yeah, I
nature.
mean, I didn't immediately go to the dark place.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I thought, "Oh, it's nothing, it's nothing." So I went, had the biopsy. I don't know. I guess it was almost a week, 5-6 days maybe. He calls me. I get a phone call. It's the doctor's office. I mean, I answer it. And tells me, he said, "You have invasive lobular carcinoma." And I just sat there. I was by myself. I was sitting at my desk when the call came, and I'm just sitting there. And he's like, I don't know, I must have been quiet for a really long time, because he finally said, "Are you still there?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you hear what I understand?" No, he said, "Did you understand what I said?" And I said, "I understand what you said. I just don't understand what you said." And so he thought he needed to explain it to me. I said, No, I know what it means.
Yeah, sure.
I worked in, cancer research for years.
Right.
And I was a nurse for almost 30. I know what it means. I just don't understand. I mean, how did this happen? He said, "I don't know." He goes, "I pulled up your past mammograms," and he goes, "I looked at them with a fine-tooth comb," and he goes, "There was nothing there." And so
basically just happened in a year.
and it, like I said, it was almost an inch in diameter. So that's good size.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so I, go to the surgeon, and he said, "I always want to do an MRI before, just to make sure that I don't have any surprises when I get in there." So he does an MRI, and I get the call going, "Yeah, we found 2 more spots." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we need to biopsy those." So I had 2 more biopsies,
Oh, my goodness.
and one of those came back as cancer also. So now I had 2 tumors in the same side. So I go into surgery. They were able to remove just the tumors without having to do a total mastectomy, which I didn't really want, because the recuperation is so much harder, and the
Major.
long-term effects are much worse. So
Right.
he didn't want to do it either. So my surgeon, he's like, "Well, I'm going to do whatever I can so that we don't have to do that." So he did. And then he took lymph nodes, and those too were positive. So it had already spread to my lymph nodes.
Wow.
All this in a year.
That's...
It was such a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And, you almost don't have time to even think about it. Because it's all happening so fast, and there's so many. You're going to this doctor and that doctor, and you're having this test done, and you're going for that, and you're doing this, and and it's just so much going on that you almost can't even grasp. So have the surgery, get all that, then of course I have to have 4 months of chemotherapy, and then 30 radiation treatments, and now I'm still on treatment. Just because it had already spread, they would just want to make sure. So I get an infusion every 6 months, and I take a pill every day, in hopes to keep, the evil spirits away.
Wow. And you had told me a quick story about the wig.
Oh, geez.
Because it was summer.
It was
you were
summer.
going through the chemo and...
Yep, I had my surgery the end of March, and then they always wait 6 weeks because they want you to heal before they start the chemo. So I started my chemo towards the end of May, and so it went all through the summer. I was getting chemo until September, and anybody who's ever worn a wig will tell you they are incredibly uncomfortable, especially when you have no hair.
Yes.
Because they're itchy. I mean, at least if you have hair and it's maybe just thin or something, or you just want a different look, the hair kind of, shields you. But I didn't have any hair, so I'd put the wig on, I'd go out, I'd do something, and then, it would be hot, and then my head would start sweating. It's like wearing a wool stocking cap in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer.
It's terrible. And so I would leave wherever I was, whip it off, throw it into the seat next to me. And after about a month of that, I thought, you know what? The heck with this. I am not wearing this thing anymore. And, as I said, anybody that knows me, they know I don't have any hair. They realize that that's not my hair.
Sure.
And people that don't know me, I don't care what they think. So
there you go.
So I stopped wearing it, and I walked around bald for months.
Good for you.
And just said, you know what? I even went to a big fundraiser where we all wore ball gowns. I went to that with my ball gown on and no hair. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just doing it.
That's a brave thing, though. I mean, it really is, because it's like that's part of the armor.
Well, especially
really
for women.
Yeah. It is.
And but I said, you know what? I'm just not doing it anymore. And so I didn't wear the wig anymore, and I went around without it. And the hardest part was one of my grandchildren. Well, he's not the youngest anymore, but he was at the time, and he was only 6 maybe at the time. And they came to visit, my son and the boys came to visit, and I told Chris, I said, does he know that I don't have any hair? And he goes, well, I kind of told him that, Grandma's been sick, but she'll be okay and stuff. And so when they came, I had a baseball cap on.
Okay.
And then I took the cap off, and he kept doing this. He kept going, like sneaking peeks,
Yeah.
He didn't want to, he knew it was not polite to stare, but he just, and I'm like, it's okay, Josh. I said, my hair will come back. And I said, do you want to rub my head? And he was like, and so I let him rub my head, and he thought that was great. And
that is so
then
cool.
he, as the weekend wore on, he was fine. He's fine with it. We actually went to Kennywood. We took him to Kennywood, and then again, he had a baseball hat on. Well, I didn't want to get my head sunburned.
Sure.
Yeah, which is something I never had to worry about before. But all of a sudden, I had to worry about getting sunburn on my head. So I had a baseball hat on. We got on a ride, and the girl, we were all getting tucked in and, straps and everything on. Yeah. And she goes, ma'am, you're going to have to take your hat off. And I go, oh, yeah, I know, I will. And so I took it off, and she looked at me. She goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you better be sorry. It's okay. This woman started crying. She was the person running the
ride,
letting everybody in. She starts crying. And I'm like, it's okay, really. It's fine. I didn't know. And I'm like, well, of course you didn't know. It's okay. I'm going through something right now, but it's going to be all right. And so she gives me this big hug, and I'm like, what the heck? And so that was our little Kennywood experience.
Yeah. Well, you are so warm and open, and you invite people to you. That is so cool. And I remember the first time we met, you were just this sweet, kind, wonderful human, and that is a really big deal in the world we live in today. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's easier to be nice than it is to be mean to people.
It really is.
People that are mean and conniving and it's like, to me, that seems like that's a lot of work. And I don't know.
It really is.
To me, it is. That's way more work than being nice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I mean, I know people that talk bad about people or are they're just connivers and just manipulators and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, that's a lot of work. I mean.
Tiring.
It is. It's exhausting. I just find it so much easier just to be nice to people, and let's face it, then they're nice back. And who
goes around comes around.
And who doesn't want to be treated nicely? I mean, who doesn't want people to smile at them and laugh with them and talk to them and include them in things? Everybody wants that.
Absolutely. So what's next for Linda Long? What comes next?
Well, I believe I think I was named to the board of directors for Face to Face Healing, which is a local nonprofit here. So I think my next step is probably doing more of that type of thing, doing more work with charities, doing more volunteering, things like that. I think I'm probably going to start winding down my design business.
Okay.
Just because I want to concentrate more on, again, charities, nonprofits, volunteering, doing things like that, and working just gets in my way.
It gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a pesky job.
Yeah, and again, as Jim and I have talked about, he's like, you have nothing to prove.
Oh, absolutely
He goes,
not.
You don't have anything else to prove. You did all of this in your life. You have a successful business that has, done well, and you started it all by yourself. And he goes, you don't have anything else to prove. He goes, if you don't want to do this anymore, don't do it, for crying out loud. And
these guys all keep giving you these simple advice.
I know.
Just do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Why do I make things so hard?
Well, my friend, listen, you have accomplished so many wonderful things, not the least of which is when you started and you brought two good human beings into the world, which is, to me, that's the ultimate accomplishment.
Yep.
Right? If you can say that, that's wonderful. But you have been shining a light and illuminating the path for so many people, and I'm blessed that our paths have crossed, and I'm really looking forward to working with you with Karen and other things.
Oh, that would be great.
And thank you so much for coming on and joining us and sharing a little bit of your story.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll do it again. Maybe this time next year we'll have some really cool stuff to talk about from the nonprofit world, and
absolutely
we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.